Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. I'm here to ask and answer one simple question. Wtf Is Talisman Prologue? Interesting. Nomad Games brings you this one. This is a conversion of a board game. Talisman is a board game I'm very familiar with. It actually holds a very special place in my heart. It was something that I played a hell of a lot in my early teenage years, and in fact, had a bit of a resurgence during our board gaming weekends at university, and after that, it was a great game to play with a crate of beer because, by God, it took a while, so chances are you were going through that crate before you'd actually ended the game. One way or the other, it's considered a classic by many people. For some people, for the wrong reasons, I would say. Some people consider it to be a dice-rolling waste of time. It's too random. It's kind of an enjoy-the-ride game. It doesn't really require a lot of skill or strategy, and they wouldn't be wrong, certainly. Other people just consider it a great ride throughout with a lot of replayability. However, this version is the prologue. It is a cut-down version. Now, by cut-down, usually would say, oh, well, they've trimmed a bit of fat off the edges. No. They removed all multiplayer. Not only did they remove all multiplayer, they removed all opponents, so there's no AI in it either. It's actually a set of quests on the board using the Talisman rule set with a variety of different objectives and characters. So as you can see here, some of the classic Talisman characters are available. As you can probably also notice, they're mostly locked. Because why? I don't even know. Extending the lifespan of the game? I have to assume so. You don't even need to look at the options menu, there's not a lot there, as you can see. You can go up to 1080p, but I was having problems filming it because it has a tendency to jump out of its window. It defaults to windowed mode and refuses to go, or indeed just stay in full screen when you click in certain areas of the screen, which is not so great. Not really happy about that, but it at least seems to work in windowed mode. It's also locked to 25 frames a second, which I suppose doesn't matter all that much with a board game, but it's still kind of annoying nonetheless. So, characters. As you can see here, I only really have access to these three. Everything else is locked, and you have to go through the training missions for each of the characters in order to unlock anything that's remotely useful. Needless to say, most of Talisman is self-explanatory once you've learned the basic rules, and the basic rules are not exactly complex. Absolutely not. So, for me, as someone that's played about 50 games of Talisman, the desire to play the tutorial levels was, one might say, at an all-time low. Now, this game is kind of designed in the Angry Birds 3-star style. You complete the missions. Depending on how many turns you complete them in, you get a rating out of 1 to 3 talismans. This sounds like a great idea until you actually realize the nature of the game. Anyone that has played Talisman probably already has figured out why it's a terrible idea. Alright, so let's do a mission. I'll show you exactly how it works. Travel to the ruins in the outer region, kill the ogres, then deliver the princess to the castle in the middle region. If you become evil, you must abandon the princess in the desert instead. So you can do one of those two objectives. Alright. Let us do that then, shall we? Okay, so welcome to the game board. We don't need any of that tutorial information. This is the classic Talisman game board. Chances are you recognize this if you've ever played the game at any point. Stats are to the left, and we also have spells and objects to the right here. That's your turn counter down to the bottom. Fairly important. Not that you'll actually know how many turns you need in order to complete the objective with 3 talismans, because it doesn't tell you at any point, which is really annoying. Alright. Onward we go. So, Talisman essentially works by rolling a dice and traveling around the board. I don't need... Why it's showing me this again, I really don't know. I've already done several missions, and it's telling me the same bloody thing over and over again. So, you go to an area on the board. You can go either backwards or forwards, depending on the roll. There we go. We've gone there. And what happens... As the game is insisting on telling me for the umpteenth time. I don't know if there's a way I can actually turn hints off. No, of course, that would be too much to ask, I guess. Once you land in a square, you draw cards. So there we go. Yes, I've drawn my first adventure card. I'm going to fight a serpent. Serpent's actually kind of tough. So you go into battle mode. What do? Well, you roll dice, and then you add your strength, and that will tell you what you need. So I roll a 4 as my highest there. As the warrior, I get to roll 2 dice, pick the highest. So he rolls a 6, which means I lose that encounter, and that means I'm going to lose a life. I could re-roll, but yeah, the chance of getting a 6, pretty low. I would spend my 1 fate point on that. It seems pointless, so I'm just going to have to take the hit. There we go. Enemy wins! It's a snake. There we go. If you drop to 0 lives, then that's game over. Yes, we know all about that. Alright, so let's keep rolling and keep going. Don't really want to fight the ogres just yet. They're over there. I know that they're far too tough for me, so I'm going to avoid them, go in the other direction, and go to the woods. So, this is pretty much how the game goes. You end up encountering this stuff, you do what the card says, you fight it if necessary, you pick it up if necessary. In this case, we're going to roll the dice. Ooh, very nice. Well, it would be nice if I actually had spent any fate, so that was a complete waste of time. Oh, well, never mind. Onward we go. I could visit the chapel. It's kind of pointless. Don't need to go there right now, so let's go to the hills. And this is what you keep doing. You keep rolling your dice, you keep encountering stuff, you fight it, and that, as they say, is that. That's pretty much all the game really has to offer. Now, in the board game... Oh, God, I'm having a really, really bad, unlucky, nonsensical thing right now. And that was even worse. There we go. Spectre's gonna kill me. Or at least do some damage. Not ideal. In the board game, of course, you roll around and your friends do exactly the same thing. And you encounter stuff, you can even fight each other, which is kind of neat. And the stuff that you leave on the board is relevant to you. Oh my God, seriously? It's relevant to you because you are also going to have to deal with it. I don't believe this. And this is what happens sometimes in Talisman. You just get astonishingly unlucky. Now, this is why the whole structure of Talisman Prologue is unbelievably flawed. It is beyond flawed. It is absurd. Because you are expected to complete the missions in a certain number of turns to get the top rating. Except there are times when there's just nothing you can do about it, because for the most part, this game is based on luck. Now, you can, of course, modify the luck. Certainly. I will accept that. No question. You can do stuff that will help you along, but there are times when you will just run into absurdly unlucky adventures, and you cannot do a damn thing about it. Right now, I'm just coming up with the worst possible combos. I've got no items, I'm constantly fighting really nasty monsters. Oh great, a cave. Let's hope it's not a 1. Oh, cool, excellent. Actually gained some gold there, my first lucky time. Now the nice thing about playing solo is that you don't have to wait for anyone else. The bad thing about playing solo is everything else. Playing a game like this that is luck-based is not fun when you are not doing it with friends. This is the same problem I actually had with Blood Bowl. Blood Bowl is a conversion of a board game. Much more complicated board game than Talisman is, certainly. No real question about that. But, honestly, that game is only really fun when you're in the same room with your friends, because horrible things can happen to you. And unless you're kind of laughing along in a social environment, you're probably gonna hate it. In this case, this is even worse. This is exactly the problem that you have with Blood Bowl, multiplied many times over, because Blood Bowl actually has strategy involved in it. Blood Bowl has a campaign mode. Blood Bowl has persistence. You build a team. It's got some management aspects to it. It actually does require some skill. Yeah, you can get unlucky, but it does require some skill. Talisman doesn't require any skill. At all. Just none. It really, really does not. It is a dice roller. And it's fun. If you are playing with friends and you're doing the whole, hey, enjoy the ride thing. That's great. But on your own, it's just mind-bogglingly frustrating because you keep running into crap like this over and over and over again. So, not only is the prologue absolutely and utterly flawed in the way that the gameplay is actually constructed, it's no fun to play at all. None. Really irritating. What else can I say about it? Well, you know, there's a few things that I could say about it. Assets-wise, at least in terms of the aesthetic, it's pretty good. It's not too bad at all. They use the original assets in high definition from the original game. Everything is recognizable, certainly. Not really sure why I re-rolled that. It's probably because I wasn't paying any attention. Let's go to the Warlocks Cave, grab ourselves a quest. You can see those are the original models, nicely scanned in. Everything's well presented. The UI is, for the most part, pretty good. There's maybe a little bit too much clicking involved in it, but it's not too big a deal. I'll roll around in this direction. Let's go visit the Hidden Valley. Always interesting. What do we got? A shrine? Okay, cool. And a magic stream, also cool. And a unicorn, yeah, so finally we're getting lucky. There we go, we can take the unicorn. It's going to follow us around. Let's roll on the shrine, see what we get. Gain 1 spell, very cool. Do I have the craft to do that? Yes, I do. Teleport, very handy indeed. And the magic stream to gain 1 strength. And this would be great if I was in a room with my friends, like, oh, you know, that's absolutely fantastic, and then there's a magic stream there, so a lot of the players want to try and roll to land on that square in order to gain access to that. That's a pretty cool thing indeed, isn't it? But on my own, it is a waste of time. I'm not really sure why they put this out. I have to assume that they just needed to make a bit of extra money to help fund their development. That's the only thing I can think of. I thought a Games Workshop pushed them and said, you've got to release something. You've got to release something. It wouldn't put... Man, it would not surprise me. I would not put it past Games Workshop to do that. Not at all. But this is just pointless. It is absolutely pointless. Nicely constructed. It shows a good framework for the game that's to come, but... This would have been the nice thing to release for free, yeah? This would have been really, really good to release for free in order to drum up a little bit of hype for the full version. This would be okay, I suppose, on a mobile device. You know, I'd maybe play this for a little while. It's a little bit of fun. I'm not going to sit at my PC playing this. The whole notion is absurd. Why would you? Why would you? Unfortunate. But... that's just the way that it is. Even for a hardcore Talisman fan, which I would consider myself to be, I love Talisman, I've played so many games of it, this to me is a waste of my time and money. I don't see a reason to play it. I'm intrigued to see where it goes with the full version, but right now, I have to say to people, don't waste your time, don't waste your money. It's a $10 game. There are many, many better games that you can get for $10, even if you are really into Talisman. If you're into board games, once again, you're probably going to hate it, because these kind of enjoy-the-ride games are really only good with friends in a social setting. And whoever thought it was a good idea to make it turn-based and time-based so that a certain number of turns gets you the rating is an idiot. Do you not realize how random this game is? You can't do that. You flat out cannot do that. There is not enough influence you can have within the game in order to make that work out for you. Not to mention, they don't even bother to tell you how many turns you need in order to get the maximum rating. Locking off the other characters until you've beaten a bunch of these missions with characters you don't necessarily want to play is kind of the final nail in the coffin for me. The whole package is a waste of time and money. What a shame. What a shame. Let's see what comes from the full version. I wouldn't bother wasting your time and effort on this one, though. Talisman Prologue, currently available over on Gamersgate. I'll see you next time.